All right, 10:15 now here on the Morning X. As you know, our traffic can be a nightmare here, especially in the morning if you're commuting, and nothing can ruin your day than getting stuck and then you're late coming into work, right? So Ryan McCarty from Robert Half back here this morning talking about how a stressful commute is impacting our workforce. I've done this before. That's why, like now, I never live far from where I work because I'm just not willing to spend 2 hours out of my day, one getting there and one getting back in a very bad situation.
It's definitely impacting people's job satisfaction all the way around. I mean, think about like people who are driving from Westchester to downtown.
No.
I mean, it could be an hour and a half sometimes. I
realize the advantage of living outside of the city, and you can get more property, bigger land, different school districts and things are always appealing to kids. But if you're somebody who's late for work now habitually, is it just simply finding a detour? Is that the answer?
Well, I think there's a, well, yeah, or leave it a different time.
Right.
You know, traffic just an uncontrollable thing.
Right.
It upsets so many people, but it really impacts at the desk level when you're coming in, you're white knuckling into work every single day, and your boss comes in and said, "Why are you late? You've been sitting in traffic for an hour and a half." There's nothing worse. There's nothing worse than something like that.
But a lot of companies don't want remote workers now. They're like, all right, pandemic's over, get back to the office. We want you here because I feel like the productivity is better. It is better when you're there, right? Or is it better remotely?
Depends on how you measure it and what kind of industry or job function that you're in. I mean, there's different ways to measure. I think we're kind of figuring that stuff out. But I think from an employer side, why there's a big push to get back into the office is because it helps with communication, it helps with collaboration, it helps with their culture inside of there. Because if companies have realized that if they don't have a good culture, right, and they don't have the connection with people that people want in the training and development, there's ultimately never going to be any trust. So if you don't have trust, you're never going to be able to get results.
Wasn't that also an issue with people who were working remotely? Sometimes they were doing it from a really remote spot, like the side of a beach, where you really couldn't be monitored. But there you are on the Zoom call. It looks like a room behind you. How do I know you're not, hanging out at the beach, right?
Right.
So it was more about accountability now, getting people back to work. But dealing with that kind of stress, it doesn't start your day off on a good note when you want to come in with, and be productive in your job.
Yeah, I mean, when I think about like the people that had been working remote, and you see all these companies around Cincinnati in the U.S. that there's a push back to get in there. Again, it's because they want some sort of connection, and it's easier to train and develop and build a culture. And if you don't have that, a lot of times I think about like, we're remote. Robert Half is remote, but it's like living in a long distance relationship with some people. It really is. Like, how good of a relationship can you really have with your colleague if they're in Florida on the beach every single day?
And you never see people in person. So what can employees do if their companies don't want to budge on some of these requirements?
I think the first thing you got to do, if you're in a situation where you need some hybrid or remote situation, the majority of companies are going to be working with you. I think 75 to 80% of the companies are some sort of hybrid or remote. There's only a handful of companies that are 100% on site, and they're going to suffer from a talent perspective, but they get it. The culture means more to them. But I think if you're an individual that needs hybrid or work schedule, you gotta talk to your manager. You have a difficult discussion, because 9 times out of 10, these managers are open to hearing what you have to say and want to make something work. They want to retain their people. It's not like
they want to retain talent, right?
Exactly.
And of course, Robert Half, if you guys are the pros in terms of getting someone a job, if maybe it's not working out, it might be time to look somewhere else and see what's going to be a better fit.
Yes, roberthalf.com is the best place to check it out.
Ryan McCarty, always a pleasure having you on, my friend.
You as well.
All right, good advice from them. Let's get to Catherine now, because if